Right now, the National Weather Desk, smoky skies. Millions of Americans are breathing unhealthy air today, where the worst is this morning.
It's very similar to what you might experience if you were standing behind a diesel engine running.
Dangerous heat. The heat wave expands beyond Texas, sending the mercury soaring in more than a dozen states. How are you staying hydrated?
You can eat your water. We explain what's on the list just ahead.
Sea turtle concerns. How sandcastles on the beach are hurting this endangered species.
It's completely accidental. They have no idea that they're causing harm to the turtle.
Panic pets. How you can calm your furry friends during fireworks shows.
Some animals may also benefit from having a safe room in the house.
And what is that rock doing on the surface of Mars?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. More than 1/3 of the U.S. population is under an air quality alert this morning. Smoke from the Canadian wildfires have drifted over more than a dozen states, turning skies gray and creating very unhealthy air. 120 million people in cities across the Midwest to Washington, D.C., and even into portions of the South are affected this morning. People in these cities are urged to stay inside as much as you can, especially people with medical conditions like asthma or COPD. This is where right here the air is worst according to airnow.gov, home of the Air Quality Index. The red areas indicate unhealthy air, and as you can see, that covers a very large area. But the purple areas are even worse, showing very unhealthy air. Today, portions of Wisconsin, Illinois, and Iowa, along with Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, all fall into that category. In all of these places, people are urged to stay inside if you can and avoid very strenuous activities. But are the warnings actually having an impact on people's behavior? Kate Seifert explains.
It's very similar to what you might experience if you were standing behind a diesel engine running.
Another example, sitting in a car, windows up, with someone who's smoking cigarettes. But is this smoky air keeping people inside? How long have you been out so far today?
About 45 minutes.
How are you feeling?
Feel pretty good, pretty good. I can tell there's definitely a change in the atmosphere with the wildfires in Canada.
So I posted this poll asking people, are they going to change their outdoor habits? Most people so far are saying they're not going to change their habits. Is that surprising?
I'd like to say I'm surprised. I think we've become a little complacent.
Right now, we're at 186, and that's in the unhealthy zone.
Jennifer Middleton is a family doctor at Ohio Health. She's also a mom of 2.
Would you choose to send your kids to summer camp, to their T-ball games in these conditions?
With our current air quality index, which is above 150, I absolutely would not send them outside.
Texas has been baking under triple-digit temperatures for much of June, but now that extreme heat is spreading to other parts of the country, with more than 80 million Americans now under a heat alert. Meteorologist Lauren Oleski is here with a look at where air conditioners will be working overtime.
Well, the intense heat is going to continue across the southern United States today, also quite hot out on the west coast. But this is where that heat dome has been sitting for several days. Heat advisories, excessive heat warnings all over Alabama, Mississippi, the entire state under an excessive heat warning that extends across Tennessee, Arkansas, down into Louisiana. It's going to be another very hot day across this portion of the country with temperatures. These are actual highs going into the triple digits, 101 in Kansas City and in Little Rock. Dallas could hit 102 this afternoon, but with the humidity, this is where it counts. It feels much worse. Memphis with the heat index today at 112, 113 in Jackson and Lafayette. Little Rock, a heat index of 110 this afternoon.
By now, you have probably heard the advice to stay hydrated in extreme heat. Yes, you should drink, of course, plenty of water, but you can also eat your water. Liz Bonus shares the foods that make the high moisture list.
Pick your favorite piece of produce this time of year. Do you have one that you like?
Cherries.
And it's likely to be packed with powerful, healthy plant compounds.
I really like peaches.
What do you love about them?
It's juicy, the flavor's really good.
And a whole lot of hydration. But if you want to know how a few measure up, those that top the list include cucumbers, they're 97% water, and strawberries are 92%.
So that you can pluck them right out of the container and eat them all in one sitting.
And And if those traditional berries aren't your thing, there's another kind, gooseberries. They're kind of juicy and plump, but a little more tart. Laura Riley is co-owner of Madison's at Ohio's Findlay Market. She says if you eat seasonal foods, you'll get a lot of these high hydrating foods.
It's just something about things when they're in season. It's how it's meant to be.
Other top foods close to being 90% water include tomatoes, melons, broccoli, pineapple, and celery. All of these are great for hydration on days where hydration is the secret to a healthy summer.
It shouldn't be surprising that Mexico is also in the middle of a brutal heat wave. Last weekend, northern Mexico State recorded a temperature of 122 degrees in the shade. There are reports of dozens of heat-related deaths across the country. The heat wave is also putting a strain on the nation's power grid. Good news from Arizona, where firefighters have been battling the Diamond Fire. Evacuation orders for more than 1,100 people were lifted late last night. 30% of that fire is contained right now. As of last night, the fire had burned nearly 2,000 acres in North Scottsdale. Investigators believe humans started that fire, but they don't know yet just how that all started. Firefighters fought the flames from the air by dropping fire retardant. You see it there. It turns pink when it hits the ground. You see that pink covering homes. In western Colorado, the Spring Creek fire is just about 20% contained. It already burned through nearly 3,000 acres. So far, no evacuations, but lots of smoke that may affect air quality in that area. Hundreds of firefighters are working to get the flames under control. The cause, though, is still under investigation. Meantime, firefighters are getting ready for fire season in Northern California. Sam Chimenti has details.
And vegetation across the state has now dried and could spark at a moment's notice. With temperatures climbing above 100 this week and with lightning strikes a real possibility, CAL FIRE Shasta Trinity unit says they're ready to go.
All of our stations are covered, all of our fire engines are covered. We have aircraft covered throughout the state. Statewide, we're running a significant amount of grass fires. We've already had an uptick in those grass fires here locally.
Assistant Chief John Kiska hopes that most fires this summer will spark in low elevation grass areas because those are easier for crews to contain.
11 years ago today, a deadly and destructive derecho tracked across the Ohio Valley and into the mid-Atlantic. Damage was widespread from Indiana and Kentucky all the way to Maryland and even Philadelphia. Millions of people lost power when those straight-line winds took down thousands of trees and also some power lines. Anyone who lived through the storm and the days after without power has a story to tell. Meteorologist Emily Gracie has more on derechos.
So what exactly is a derecho? Well, the Spanish word actually means straight ahead, referring to the strong straight line winds associated with this type of storm. Think of it as a massive and long-lasting severe thunderstorm. The National Weather Service classifies a derecho as a storm system covering more than 240 miles, with most of the path experiencing wind gusts of at least 58 miles per hour or stronger. These conditions usually occur during late spring and summer when meteorological factors are just right. While derechos are most commonly seen in the Midwest, they're still relatively rare. On average, you might come across a derecho about once a year in that region. But sometimes they can even reach as far as the East Coast. Have those emergency weather alerts activated on your smartphone and have a plan if a warning is issued. The high winds, falling trees, and flash flooding that come from derechos can be very dangerous. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
A newly released study found that climate change is causing more extreme rainfall in mountain regions than previously thought. Now, that's important because too much rain can lead to flooding, landslides, and erosion. This is the first study to distinguish the impact of climate change on both rain and snow. It found for every 1 degree Celsius the planet warms, mountains can expect 15% more rainfall, and about 25% of the world's population lives either in mountain regions or directly downstream from them. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll head to Utah to find out the unique ways some people are helping to conserve water. And we'll look at one common beach activity that is hurting sea turtle population.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
This mama bear watches over her 3 cubs as they climb and play in this tree north of Mobile, Alabama. The suburb of Saraland is reported to have a sizable population of black bears. These cubs said to be roughly 12 weeks old. And in the Lynchburg, Virginia area, drifting smoke from Canadian wildfires is obscuring the views of nearby hills.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
As one of the driest states in the country, residents in Utah are often looking for ways to conserve water. Now one community has new rules that will force homeowners to look at grass alternatives. As Amanda Gilbert shows us, a change in landscaping can turn into big water savings.
For Stephanie Walker, transforming her yard has helped her heal after battling thyroid cancer.
Just being outside, I felt so much better.
Pretty much all of this was grass a few years ago. This change has helped her, and her home's water bill has dropped.
Our goal really is to get folks to use less water.
Stephanie's husband, Mayor Troy Walker, says Draper's pushing for grass alternatives like stone, native plants, wood chips, even clovers.
So you look at Arizona, which is a state that's actually wetter than Utah, and you'll go down there and you don't see lawns. But up here in Utah, a state drier than Arizona, we're watering Kentucky bluegrass.
Now people in Draper are encouraged to make changes. For all future development, homes will be required to only have 35% of their landscape be grass turf. Those on slopes can't have any grass turf. All new commercial properties, mixed use, or multifamily places can only have a maximum of 20% of their landscape be grass turf.
The ordinance is designed to really limit the amount of grass that you have and to get you to put in more plants that are water friendly.
So why right now?
People will say, well, we're out of the drought, Mayor. We had this great year. We don't need to do any conservation. That is absolutely not true.
What would you say to people who are worried about the cost and time of all this?
If you do it yourself, it costs a lot less.
It looks daunting, and it is work to change.
Our next full moon arrives on Monday. This one is known as the Buck Supermoon. Meteorologist Rhonda Shelby explained what's behind the name.
Our full moon next week also happens to be one of 4 supermoons of 2023. The full July Buck supermoon rises on the morning of July 3rd. Check your lunar calendar for times in your area. It will appear slightly larger and brighter against the fireworks in the night sky next week. At its closest point, the July Buck supermoon will be about 224,000 miles from Earth. Wondering how the buck moon got its name? According to the Old Farmer's Almanac, it's the time of year when male deer shed their antlers before they grow them back even larger.
Well, it's peak nesting season for sea turtles along the North Carolina coast, but these endangered animals are easily frightened, only hurting their ability to build back their population. As Rebecca Heckel explains, the sight of a sandcastle or even a light could stop a frightened mother from laying her eggs.
Researchers know that every species of sea turtle has been endangered for decades, at least since the 90s.
So many things play into the population decline. Some of it is just taking away the nesting habitat itself and changing that habitat.
A large part of the problem for sea turtles here in eastern North Carolina is the number of beachgoers not leaving the sand better than they found it. At Emerald Isle, there have already been at least 2 turtles attempting to nest but were unable to due to barriers on the beach.
This year we've had a problem with sandcastles. So we do want people to come to the beach, have fun, dig holes, make your sandcastle. We just ask that you take your pictures and knock it down before you leave and fill in the holes.
Sea turtles primarily come on shore to nest at night, and another issue is light disorienting them, making it difficult for the nesting mother to get back to the ocean. Lamping says that there have been several reports of people harassing sea turtles, trying to see them make their nest.
It's completely accidental. They just get super excited and they have no idea that they're causing harm to the turtle. But if they could just stay far back from her, turn off all their lights, and just kind of enjoy that moment.
That even if tampering with a sea turtle nest is accidental, if caught, you could receive up to $50,000 in fines and up to a year in prison.
Well, have you heard of a piping plover? They are endangered birds that nest along shorelines in northern Michigan. Conservation efforts are underway as the birds start nesting along the Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lake shore. Meteorologist Heather Bricka shows us what's being done to protect the plovers.
Nest exchange right now. Female got off and the male got on.
2 decades. That's how long Alice Van Zaren has devoted her time to protecting the piping plovers in the Great Lakes. And this year is no different.
We have 5 nests in this area. 2 of them are still being incubated, and 3 of them have chicks.
One spot where you can find the piping plovers is right here at Sleeping Bear Point, right inside their fenced enclosures.
The endangered birds are only 7 inches tall and weigh about 50 grams, which is why they have special areas on the beach to protect them from predators.
There's not very many of them in the whole Great Lakes. Last year we had 72 pairs in all of the Great Lakes. 31 of those were at Sleeping Bear.
The park staff monitors the birds, and we're out there last week putting bands on the birds to help keep track of them.
We have a really dedicated staff, National Park Service staff, that monitors those nests every day and checks on the adults and checks on the chicks. So that is one of the major efforts that happens during the summer, is just making sure that both adults are present and taking care of the eggs, and then when they hatch, taking care of the chicks.
If you are going to bird watch, there is a couple things to keep in mind.
First off, stay outside the fenced area, because little chicks are easy to step on. Eggs are really easy to step on. Don't bring your dogs to beaches that are no dog beaches like here.
The birds use this time to nest and learn how to fly on Lake Michigan before migrating south in August.
When a severe thunderstorm is rolling towards your area, how much time do you have before it reaches you? Meteorologist Natalie Walters has some answers.
Have you ever heard of counting the time between the lightning strike and thunder to tell how far away a thunderstorm is? Well, there definitely is truth to that, and the reason why is because light travels faster than sound. So if you see that flash of lightning, you can start counting and then stop once you hear the thunder. Now that you have your number, you're going to divide it by 5. Every 5 seconds is 1 mile. So if the lightning and the thunder are happening at the same time, that storm is pretty much right on top of you.
An image from NASA's Perseverance Mars rover is getting some attention. On the left side of your screen, you see what appears to be a donut-shaped rock. There is speculation the rock could be a large meteorite from somewhere else in the galaxy. The rover is searching Mars for signs of long-ago life while collecting samples that will eventually be returned to Earth. And we want to remind you here about our podcast, Off the Radar. If you're looking to learn more about the weather, you have to check this out. This week's episode is all about protecting people from flooding, rivers, and streams. You can find Off the Radar on Apple, Spotify, or simply wherever you get your podcasts. And time now for a short break, but first we take flight over the beaches of Charleston, South Carolina.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
Between thunderstorms and fireworks, this is a tough time of the year for pets who hate loud noises. But as Dr. Devin Smith shows us, there are steps you can take to help your four-legged friends.
This summer, more than ever, I have been receiving requests from owners for anxiety medications due to an increase in firework displays. Thunderstorms are, of course, always an issue in the warm summer months. The good news is that there are some medications that your veterinarian can prescribe that can offer short-term anxiety relief to help keep your pet calm during those noisy storms or those celebratory fireworks. Things like thunder shirts have also been effective for some of my patients and do not require a veterinary prescription. Some animals may also benefit from having a safe room in the house to hang out in during the noisy episode. Generally, this room should be windowless and quiet with a nice cozy bed in it for your pet to curl up on until the storm or fireworks pass. Connect with us at our station website by looking up For Pet's Sake. We'd also love to see your favorite pet moments that you can share with our community. Go to our news app, click Explore, chime in, and upload your pet-tastic photos.
And you can find us on all your favorite social media platforms. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at ways you and your family can stay safe in the water this holiday weekend. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Thursday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.